Zach Servideo here from Boston Speaks Up, and I'm here with George Deveney from Make a Wish. What's up, George?
Hey, what's up, Zach? How's it going?
It's going well, dude. Thanks for the pre-podcast chat. I feel like we're already in a flow, which is awesome. For listeners, George and I just spent, I don't know, a good portion of our pre-call talking about the Celtics. Got a game seven coming up, so go C's. I got my old Paul Pierce jersey in the background just to give some good juju for that. Before we even get into telling folks like what you're up to these days, like any Celtics predictions for Game Seven, and is it true? Are you gonna be there? I hear you're a season ticket holder.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. I just, all depends on what time the game's going to be, but really excited. I think that game six went the way I expected. It was game five was the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So now it's time to take care of business.
Right on, right on.
Yeah.
Well,
Jalen Brown threw out the challenge to the crowd, so
yeah,
we need to step up.
he did. He did say he did tell Boston that he felt like things have been fine. He kind of gave the meh, to the
Yeah.
crowd. So I have a feeling it's going to be a ruckus game seven. It would have been anyways, but yeah, the Garden's going to be bumping on Sunday for sure.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah. Speaking of getting to business, let's talk about the business you're getting to. So you're the chief advancement officer at Make a Wish, Massachusetts and Rhode Island. I think everyone who listens to this is going to know Make a Wish, but just give folks a little background on sort of what you're doing in that role and sort of like maybe how that mission, the mission of Make a Wish is evolving.
Well, I mean, I think what we're doing is so important. Like you said, a lot of people understand what Make-A-Wish is, but there might be some other misconceptions. They think that we're a big, national organization, and there is Make-A-Wish America. They're more of a clearinghouse. So if somebody wants to, from California wants to meet Jason Tatum, they'd go through Make-A-Wish so that not everybody's going to Jason Tatum. But all the wishes, all the money that we raise, all goes to support local kids here in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. What's really important for us is to understand the scope of eligibility and understand that how many kids would it take for us to really serve everyone that's eligible, and that's what we're really focused on. My team is all about securing the resources. So the way we do that is through a lot of events, a lot of peer-to-peer fundraising, and just giving people opportunity to get involved. But I think what's really special about Make-A-Wish is the amount of the ripple effects of the wish. It's beyond just the child that's getting it. It's their family, it's their community, and the fact that they open up their lives and allow Make-A-Wish to be a part of it during such a tough time is really sacred, and we really treasure that opportunity. So a lot of joy being working at Make a Wish is what I'd say.
That's awesome. In terms of the events and the peer to peer and sort of like the efforts to just talk a little bit about like what kind of efforts or ways can listeners and folks that are going to be drawn to getting involved, supporting, collaborating with Make a Wish, Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Like, what are some things you're up to now, or some new ways, maybe some new ways that you're like helping bring, create bigger community around Make a Wish to create more support, to generate more resources to help more kids.
I think one of the most exciting things that we're really focused on is showing young people how they can get involved and support wishes in their local community. And one of the ways we do that is through a program we developed called Kids for Wish Kids. And that's where elementary, middle, and high school students can, form a Make-A-Wish club. Um, you know, this weekend there's a car wash that somebody's putting on to raise money for Make-A-Wish, and it's I'm a big fan of the show The Wire, and one of the things in The Wire was about how all the pieces matter, and that's really what it comes down to at Make-A-Wish. We'd love to have big transformational gifts, so that we know that we're going to be able to, have the resources to make sure that we're, you know, granting every wish eligible. But at the same time, it's really powerful when you see the small gifts come in, because you know that that is really meaningful from the small group of people that's putting those on. And so that's why, our Kids for Wish Kids program is so special to me. Um, but really it's open to anyone that wants to do anything to help make a wish. Um, we would gladly accept. So I would say that it's a blank slate. We're in the business of figuring out how we can say yes to people that want to get involved with our mission.
That's really cool. This is a pretty neat role that you find yourself in. I'm sure that it's a coveted role by a lot of people that work in the nonprofit sector. Like you're helping kids' wishes come true. um, I certainly there's certain parts of me I have like there's like some envy in me where I'm like, God, wow, my new pal George, like he's got a sweet gig, like that's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about the journey to like this role for you and why it's such a unique and ideal fit for you. So you're living in Dorchester now,
Yep.
and you were born in Dorchester, but there's an interesting story. Like I'd love to just you riff like talk a bit about sort of your childhood in Dorchester and moving to Gainesville and sort of the journey you went on from there that kind of finds you back as a season ticket holder, Boston Celtics fan, father of two, building the Make a Wish Massachusetts and Rhode Island sort of brand and efforts in the region.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a shock for me when I think about where I'm at. I would have never expected to be working in nonprofit or the third sector or anything like that. I was not really anything that I was focused on. In fact, freshman year of college, the one class that I failed was the kind of gimme course that was basically focused on community. It was called Living and Learning in Community, and I didn't do the community service hours, and I think
Hmm.
that that's why I've ended up doing over two decades of community service hours since then.
You're making up for it.
Exactly, yeah. I grew up in Dorchester, like you said, but then when I was 7 years old, my mom took a job at the University of Florida, and so we moved down to Gainesville. Unfortunately, she passed away when I was 12, about to turn 13, which is an interesting tie-in with Make a Wish because Make a Wish. One of the things that we do is really create these lifelong memories for families, and so I kind of have always thought about how I experienced because my mom had cancer, almost the reverse of that. So when I was 13, I moved back to Dorchester and lived with my aunt and uncle and commuted out to private school in Lexington Christian Academy. So every day I was on the Red Line, Ashmont to Alewife, and we would see these people on the train with red jackets and Timberland boots and khakis, and it was a nonprofit organization that started in Boston called City Year. And we used to make fun of them and say we were going to join just to get the free Tims and then quit the next day. And that was about the extent of my interaction with nonprofit world. Um, but I graduated from college in 2001. I went down to Eastern College, now Eastern University, outside of Philly, where I played hoops. But when I graduated, I went right into sales and was doing pretty well. Commission job. I loved it. But when 9/11 happened, it kind of just made me recalibrate everything. And I thought about what I was doing and I thought about my purpose. And I realized that it was like I probably had a little bit more purpose to find. And so my cousins and I ended up deciding we were going to travel. And I don't know if you ever heard of El Camino de Santiago, but it's a
No.
pilgrimage in Spain. And so we ended up walking about 500 miles across Spain from the Pyrenees Mountains to the Atlantic Ocean in the fall of 2001. And it was just a remarkable kind of transformational experience in my life. And when I got back to the States, I was managing a band, and I realized that if I wanted to go, like, I needed to, get a job. And so I worked at Banana Republic in the mall, mostly for the discount. And then when it came time to the summer, the band I was managing, we went out to Colorado for a month and recorded an album. When I got back, I was looking I was thinking, what am I going to do in September? And it was the first September I didn't have a plan. And I opened up the free newspaper at Tower Records, and I saw an ad up in the corner that said, "What are you doing in September?" And I was like, "That's weird." and it was for City Year, and I was like, those are the free Timberland people from Boston, and so I went in,
What am
and
I
that's
doing?
really
Maybe I'm getting a new pair of Tims.
exactly right. I earned those though. I went in and I spent 17 years at City Year.
Wow.
Started working at a high school in North Philly, and about 5 years into my tenure, an opportunity came to come back to headquarters in Boston, and it was kind of the opportunity I've been looking for, a chance to get back to my hometown, get back to my people, my family, and so I moved back and led recruitment for City Year nationally. At the time, City Year was really expanding a lot, and I thought that it would be really interesting to be part of that expansion. I was really, it was cool to see how City Year became part of the fabric of the cities that they were in, and
Mm,
so I wanted to do that. And so an opportunity came up for me to start City Year in London, and I jumped at it. And when I got back from London after about a year, I focused on starting up City Years around the country. Did that for the longest amount of time, about 8 or 9 years. But
were
really,
your kid? So sorry to just to jump in there. So when you were in London, had you met had you met your wife at that time?
no,
Yeah.
no, we might have met right around the time I got back.
Okay.
But no, it was just me. And
Mm-hmm.
what was crazy was I had to make a choice by
Yeah.
going to London, and there were some things that I had to sacrifice.
Right.
But I knew that it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I have no regrets about how anything is really shaken out. But the one kind of regret is why I'm at Make a Wish. All my work for City Year was outside of Boston, where I called home, where like
Mm-hmm.
where is part of me is like
Where you felt at home. Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so um, about 2.5 years ago, an opportunity came to join Make a Wish here in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and I had spent my entire career focused on the education side of this work, and I felt like I was cheating to kind of leave that. But to your point, that's when my son was born,
Mm.
and I had a daughter that was on the way, and I realized that I'm going to have my own education fight in my own family. I can fight for
Mm-hmm.
my own kids because
Mm-hmm.
our plan right now is for them to go to Boston Public School, and so I know that I'm going to be an active, involved parent along with my wife, and so that's what I'll get to do. And at the same time, to your earlier point, Make a Wish is a no brainer in terms of the mission, in terms of what we get to do every day. There's some tough days at Make a Wish, as you can imagine. But like I said, most of the days are just filled with joy. And the fact that we're able to work with these children and these families that are going through the toughest time. Every single day in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, there's a family that gets a phone call that's going to dramatically change their lives. And the fact that we get to step up and be part of some of the joy, some of the healing, just part of the journey of what they're going through with their medical diagnosis is just really powerful, and we definitely don't take that for granted. It's a serious place that's filled with a lot of joy.
Yeah. So, so talk to me a little bit about that when you mentioned like every day there's a family that's gotten a bad diagnosis and they get that call that brings them joy. Like, is how you walked into an infrastructure that existed. Um, is that an infrastructure that is constantly evolving? Like, is part of it the you know the management consulting hat is on. I am actually wearing a hat but it's a pretend hat that goes over this hat. The I'm just thinking from like an operational efficiency standpoint. Like, have you is part of your role like figuring out ways to be able to um, interact with more families per day? Is that a metric for success? Like to be able to in this 365 days a year, like we want to increase the net, number amount of people, families that we can bring joy to on a daily basis. Like and maybe that isn't it, but hopefully you get where I'm going, and sort
Yeah.
of like, and then I'm curious is like, from a in 2023, like what are some of the ways that you go about, improving your organization's ability to be able to satisfy that goal.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And it's hard to talk about when you're talking about people's lives, it's hard to talk about scale.
I
Like
know,
what does
I
scale
know,
look like?
yeah.
Um, but
And I
I
don't
can
mean
tell
to be
you, yeah,
insensitive. I'm
no,
just like, yeah, it's like
no,
it's
you're
like
right.
when you break it down to the mechanics, because then ultimately the outcomes are improving people's lives and joy. Which I know it's like it's okay. Like, well, how do we do that? How do we? And obviously, part of it is like the supply or the ability for the wishes to be delivered against, right? Which means those relationships, which means all the things that you're doing like in the community, right? So there's like it's a complex compound function that includes various variables that you're sort of always trying to improve,
Right.
such that you can increase the output, which is net more kids and their families experiencing joy while they're dealing with like perhaps the most difficult time in their lives, right? This
Yep.
heart wrenching diagnosis.
I think there's a couple things that come to mind. One, um, the cost of wishes is doing nothing but going up. And I think that before I came to Make a Wish, you don't really understand the magnitude of what it takes. Our mission delivery team is just heroes that are so close to this work, and it's not that a wish comes up for a child that wants to go on a cruise, we don't just call the cruise line and they say, "Oh yeah, sure, send them." Like we
Right.
raise money
It's
so that
not
we
that
can
easy.
pay for those things. Like
Right.
we have 80% of our wishes right now are travel wishes, and the cost of travel has just been skyrocketing. The other thing that comes to mind is we had about 260 plus wishes that were on hold from the pandemic. And so if you unpack that, those are probably some of our most vulnerable children in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, because those are people that said, this is our best chance for this kind of experience, and so we'd rather wait rather than pivot and do something else, or meet a celebrity on Zoom. We'll wait, and so we let them. And so we had over 260 wishes that were on hold, and then once travel reemerged, and also our referrals started to go back up, we were getting our normal amount of referrals. And so we have right now more wishes than we have the resources for. And so that's why it's important. Every dollar that we raise is really helping us, meet the need. And we're not going to ever turn any wish away. We just need to catch up
Mm-hmm.
financially. In our best year ever, we've done about 407 wishes. This year we're on track. We budgeted to do 370, but we're trending closer to 400. And
Nice.
so it's remarkable, but that's going to take more resources. And so we're balancing between how do we keep up this pace and get the word out that we need more resources. We need airline miles, we need hotel miles, we everything that we need when we build a tree house or put in a swimming pool. There's just so much that goes into making a wish happen, and that's another thing that I'll say. We really appreciate not just the community that's impacted by the wish, but the community that is impacted and allows us to deliver on the wish. So, first responders, lumber yards, construction companies, the towns that we have to call and get permits. A wish really touches so many people.
Yeah. In terms of the like financing, like or fundraising, um, how much is it centralized to like large donor, like for people listening too that are like, oh well, I don't have enough to like I can't like I can't give millions of dollars. Like, I mean, talk a little bit about the range of folks that provide donations to support Make a Wish, and just talk about like some of those like fundraising efforts a bit, just to kind of ground like listeners and myself like in the reality of like the different ways that maybe it's more accessible to play your part.
Right. I'll say that you know, City Year, which is an organization that I'm extremely proud of being an alum of and a longtime staff member. But it's a $150 million plus nonprofit. It's one of the big boys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so a small gift there wouldn't be noticed as much as a small gift is when you're talking about Make-A-Wish, Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And so whether that gift is $25 or $25,000, that's going to be 100% on our radar. We look every single day at all the donations that come in and appreciate the ones that are even $5. We'll get checks in the mail for whatever people can do. And all of that is 100% appreciated because it really does take all of the little pieces to make a wish come true. The average cost of a wish for us is about $12,500. Obviously, some wishes are a lot cheaper, but some wishes are a lot more expensive. And so um, that's the average, and that's kind of what we settle on and the way we think about things. And so, when we have a school that's able to, over the course of the year or over the course of putting on a dance or a dress down day, and they're able to raise $5,000 over the course of the year, that's a huge deal for us. And
Yeah.
so that's that's amazing. And then, of course, we have our gala where this year we're celebrating our 40th anniversary, and we honored Big Poppy at the beginning of April. At that event, we raised $1.5 million, and
Nice.
that's from amazing sponsors, amazing individual contributors. Where people are stepping up and literally raising their paddle to secure the funds that we need to make all these wishes happen. And so it really runs the spectrum. I would say that in a year, we probably have over 10,000 unique donations
Nice.
that come in. So it really is all different levels.
Yeah, that's helpful. I jotted a couple notes down on my notebook because I have a team that helps cut up some clips for promotion. I think the sort of here in that range, like $5 to $25 up to 25,000, like just it's more accessible. I think than certainly myself, and I'm sure a lot of people think like a little bit matters, right? You're not you maybe you aspire to be, but you're not one of the big boys,
Right.
and every little bit is helping impact the ability to sort of increase the ability to bring more joy to children
Yeah.
and their families.
And we want to be good stewards of the resources as well. And
Yeah,
so it's just really powerful when you see someone that puts a birthday fundraiser on their Facebook page to raise $1,000 for Make a Wish.
hmm
When you see somebody that's willing to run the half marathon in Providence, like we had 19 runners
nice,
last weekend. Um, Collectively, they raised $56,000. So you
nice,
can see how it can start. All these things can start to really add up. Um, but we had an amazing kid named Jackson um, who sent us uh, a letter, and it explained what the cash was in the envelope. I wouldn't recommend sending cash in the mail, but Jackson did, and he sent us $23. And he said he opened up his piggy bank, and he had $27 in it, and he wanted to send 23 to us. We have no idea what happened to the other $4, but I will say it's just amazing to see what that meant. And last year we had an event with over 400 people there, and at the end of the event, Jackson came up on stage, and they said, "Does anybody want to show Jackson like the power of how this can multiply?" And we had over 400 people all raise their hand and match Jackson's $23. And so
nice.
it's really powerful when you think about how these things can expand. Whether it's kids putting on a lemonade stand on the vineyard, which that happens, to last week we had a middle school had Make a Wish be the beneficiary of their dance, and they sold candy. And so really it could be anything.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you have are there some like is there another story or recent story or that an individual or a family that you've kind of interacted with that particularly inspiring, one that I'm sure they all kind of get you, but one that you'd like to share?
Oh, as you can imagine, it's there's a lot of stories, and I think the story for me that sticks out the most is I'll call him my friend because he is my friend, but Jose. Jose, uh, it's gonna get me. Jose is just an amazing kid, and his wish happened a few years ago. Um, but since then, Jose's been part of what we call our wish community, and it's you could think of it as alumni. And so
Hmm.
once somebody gets their wish, then we welcome them into the wish community, and we find all kinds of ways for the wish community to stay connected. Whether it's this weekend there's about 60 folks in the wish community that are going to the Red Sox game together.
Nice.
But with Jose, he and his family were at everything, and including last year at our gala. And there was a really amazing thing happened. We had the Red Sox had donated a suite for a Bad Bunny concert
Hmm.
at Fenway last year, which was like the concert of the summer, and it ended up being like a huge fundraiser for us. But before the money had gotten so high, Jose's mother was one of the people that was bidding on it because she was like, 23 people in a suite, Bad Bunny, this would be awesome. And then I was joking with her afterwards, and she was like, once I saw like what it was going for, um, but I happen to know who won the the concert, and when I told them, I was like, hey, if you end up with some extra tickets, we should let Jose and his mom know. And
Nice.
sure enough, I called Jose's mom once I got the green light, and they surprised Jose and brought him to the Bad Bunny show, where he got a chance to hang out with the donor that won the thing, but also with his family and just being a kid. It was it's amazing to get a chance to spend time with these kids. And I think our wish community is a very powerful way to do it. We're coming up on our 10,000th wish that we've granted in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And so that's 10,000 families, 10,000 communities that have all been touched. And to find ways for this community to stay together and stay connected by their shared experience, that's probably what sticks out the most for me. We have awesome wishes all the time, whether it's to hang out with athletes or whether we had a kid recently who wished to be a Disney Imagineer. We had a
Cool.
kid wish to be a Pixar pastry chef. Um, the imagination is just amazing, but there's also something really powerful about like puppy wishes, the way that a puppy can become part of the family and become that I think one of the things that can get really lost in the wish journey is how the child can feel like they are to blame in some way, um, or that they're a drag on their family. And the wish can be something that the child owns, and the child is the one that's able to contribute and bring it back to their family. And so it's something that they get to do, and it's really powerful to see that all how that all plays out.
I have a follow-up question for you on all that you just shared, and I really appreciate you keeping it real with me today. I really do. Um, you got a little choked up as you started to talk about Jose and just sharing the story, like why why is that? Like, where's that emotion come from? Like, yeah, just if you could share a little bit more there, just on like on the real, like on the personal level, like how like just why like where's that there's emotion bursting out of you when you start to talk about that you know that individual and his mom,
Yeah,
Jose and his mom.
I think it comes from a place of genuine love, but at the same time, it's impossible as a dad to not think about how
Yeah.
this could be. this
Yeah.
could be your family.
That's what I felt.
Yeah,
I
I
felt that
mean,
from you. I felt because I felt it, and I started to feel it because I'm like I immediately thought of it. Just made it grounded me in like feeling and thinking of my girls, and so
yep,
you thought of your son and your daughter.
every time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that that's what's really interesting about Make a Wish is that there's no socioeconomic line
The
to,
relatability of it is universal.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there's no a diagnosis doesn't care whether you live in Roxbury or whether you live in Reading.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter like where you are or what your background is or what there's nothing. It could come for any family. And the fact that we're able to be welcomed into these families' lives at this really vulnerable point um, is really special. And you would never wish the need for a wish on any family. But I think that that's why it's such a reverent thing. The fact that Jose and his mom have welcomed us into their lives beyond the wish is really what it's all about. This is not a like what we're making sure that this is not is transactional. This is not about like getting a wish done and then moving on to another wish. This is about like getting a high quality wish accomplished for a child and for a family, and then staying with that family and having that family stay with us.
I love that, and it's in facilitating the community. That's what I think that the community stuff you're doing, your alumni, if you will, but that community, that facilitation of community afterwards, and the swell and the
Yeah,
groundswell that creates, like that cascades and creates it's like this that creates this beautiful sort of impact cycle that is going to stoke and support more families, stoke and inform and likely generate more fundraising. Like it's just it's beautiful. It doesn't sort of like so much more starts after the wish.
right, exactly. And I'll say I'll debut this on your show, Zach.
Cool.
Wishes are all around us. Like you wouldn't believe just in conversation how I was at the Celtics game the other night. The loss it was bad, but the guy I was sitting next to was like just asking me what I do, and I said I work at Make a Wish. His sister, 22 years ago, had a wish for a family cruise, and he's like, I'll never forget it. She was 16 years old and had brain cancer, and she's doing great now. And you're always I can't even tell you countless times you're just talking to someone and they either were directly impacted by a wish themselves, or they're one or two steps removed. So the wishes are really all around us, and when you think about it like that, it's a little bit easier to think how you might want to get involved.
Yeah. I'll tell you what you are not. You are not an imposter. And I want to talk about imposter syndrome because I thought it was really interesting and talk about relatability. I too, oftentimes in my career, have had imposter syndrome. I think everyone does. I think it doesn't matter the background you come from. I mean, my dad was a UPS driver. Like that was success. Like that and that it was and is success. Like 37 years going to work every day. Like gets me choked up a little bit. Like I learned so much about how to be successful from my dad, and like his goal for me was like to not have to be on my feet all day. Like his goal for me was to like get a job in a cube, like just be in front of a computer. Like that's the future. And like just he's like he didn't go to college. I think he putzed around Bunker Hill for a semester or two. But he had the foresight to kind of give me that direction. Um, but for me, I do feel like I over-index on imposter syndrome, and I have a group of friends who've been successful, and we like help each other out, like through those troughs of disillusionment, as maybe the startup world would put it. Um, Talk to me about like your sort of your thoughts on it on sort of imposter syndrome because it's something you called out in like the pre-podcast Q&A, and I find it interesting, and I find it really relatable for everyone to kind of to be able to hear kind of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm a terrible fundraiser. um, because I don't really I don't really do fundraising. I try to just be myself and really authentically build relationships with people. And so I think the imposter syndrome on the professional side of the house is that I've actually been a very successful fundraiser um, in, in lots of different arenas. But I but it's not like by the book. It's not the science of fundraising. I guess it's the art
Yeah.
that I do it. So in a lot of spaces, I don't fit in. I don't look like I mean, even when I got this job, I know some of the board members who are like really awesome people, but yeah, they were taken aback, I think, when they saw me because it just wasn't. I don't think I fit the mold of what somebody that's leading the fundraising for a nonprofit looks like, and
Mm.
that's kind of I feel like that's been um, a pattern not just with fundraising but just in life. My mother was a teacher and she taught at every level. And she instilled in me, um, she basically treated me like an adult right away. And then, you know, obviously when she passed, I had to grow up really fast and, you know, for lots of other reasons. But I've always found myself in spaces where, you know, either I was the only or, you know, one of the few. But the imposter syndrome just, I feel like it comes from a place where you're sitting around and you feel like everyone else is reading from the same book and you don't have that book. And so
Mm.
I guess like it's a combination of like, okay, let me actually take a peek and see if I can get this book myself. But really what I've found more successful is to just throw the book out and just try to be myself. And I think that when you're authentic, it does a lot to combat the not only the imposter syndrome, but it does a lot to combat people's perceptions of what you are and what you can be and how you can lead. And so, really, that's what it's come down for me is how can I just be myself uh, in an authentic way and have other people either take it or leave it. And you know what I have found here at Make a Wish is a fantastic team of people that believe in me and people that I believe in and I believe in them. And so, you know, we're finding a lot of success doing it my way, which might be a little bit unorthodox, but imposter syndrome is something that I think that we always are going to find some way to wrestle with.
Hmm.
Not even just professionally, but you know, in life. Even you and I were talking
Right.
about you know fatherhood and being good husbands. You know, like, am I an imposter father? Like, I don't. No, I hope not. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think my kids are doing all right. But it's just always going to be something I think that is in the back of your mind.
Yeah, and there's ways I tell like I think in the conscious space of like quote unquote imposter syndrome, we're actually doing a real service to our wives and our kids by like being so aware of the magnitude, like the importance of like that role, right? Because there's no more important role than if you have kids, like the role you have as a parent. And I think at times like because we got like I told you like when we were chatting, like even before we went live, like I love co-parenting with my wife. And I was telling you the story about how I like helped, like we had been talking about introducing an earlier bedtime and elongating our babies, and I just did it. Like our baby daughter's, she sleep time was 2 hours earlier when my wife went off to a bachelorette party a few weeks ago. Like, you're welcome, I did it, and I was like so proud of myself. And she was like, yeah, you did it, you're great. And it's like we don't know if we're doing everything's right. There's no perfect. I tell my our older daughter who's almost 6. I'm like Mila. Like there's no perfect. Like you don't have to be perfect. Like you just have to like seek improvement. Like you have to be mindful and be aware that you want to do well. and understand that on the journey, you oftentimes will come short of what you believe doing well is.
Right.
And in those lessons, that's how you'll eventually go through the next, you'll burst through the next wall and you burst through the next wall. It's just all part of the process. Um, so I kind of like, that's how I reconcile my anxiety about like, am I being a great dad? Am I being present enough? Like, am I balancing work and life enough? Because it's all important. And we spend so much time working, right? But we don't have to spend as much time, I think, as we've historically worked. I've worked with companies where it was just like normal to like wake up and work at 8 and then like work till 8. Um, and I run my own company now, and I don't like to, nor do I want others to work past like 5.
Right.
And I was just talking to my creative director this morning and my silent partner. We have like a weekly call. We were thinking about moving to Friday, and the suggestion was made to make it Friday afternoon. I was like, summer's coming. I'm like, we should all take summer Fridays. Are you kidding me? I'm like, I don't want to call on the calendar afternoon. Come on, like
Yeah.
I want to spend time with my family.
Right.
Life's short. Like I gotta be present there too. We all work plenty. So I don't know if you want to riff off that a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
important to, because that's how helps you be the best version of you for Make a Wish, by being present and being feeling like you're being the best version of yourself at home.
Yeah. I mean, work-life balance is what I mean, what a loaded statement work-life balance has become, but like you have to actually just do it. You have to live it. You have to make those choices. And we talked about that coming to Boston, back to Boston for me at City Year was coming home, but I was traveling and being everywhere else. Coming to Make a Wish was what kept me local. That was the main driver of that, was the fact that I didn't want to be on doing 150,000 miles in the air and 100 nights in a hotel anymore. I wanted to be home, be present with my family, and that goes for my team as well. I'm very conscious, and I even joke with them. Like, well, my guy who leads our work in Rhode Island, Mike, has little kids as well, and I'll talk to him, and he's on his way to a baseball game, his son's baseball game, and I always joke with him. I'm like, hey, make sure you mark this down on your timesheet that doesn't exist. He knows that I'm joking,
Yeah.
because it's real. I value that even more.
Mm.
It's gonna make everyone more productive, and there's gonna be
Yeah.
undulation. There's gonna be
Yeah.
times when we all have to grind and put
Mm-hmm.
in those hours, but when we're not in those times, we have to take a step back and really value our whole self, and our whole
Yeah.
self, making sure that we're that, and that goes for people without families as well. It's not
Yeah.
just if you have a family you get a pass to do those things. No, you have to invest in your own life. We already
Yeah.
spend enough time at work and with the people we work with. Um, to like, you have to carve out that other time, and so I force it
Yeah.
on my team. And there's also a lot at Make a Wish that takes us into the weekends, as you can imagine. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's finding, okay, where can we get back some of that time that you're
Mm-hmm.
spending on the weekends. And the other thing is, if it wasn't going to be total chaos, you'd probably see my kids with me right now, because I love bringing my kids to work. I love having my kids be part of and see what
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Hell
We
yeah.
we see that in Boston. As a Celtics fan, we see that with Jason Tatum and Al Horford right now. Their kids
Absolutely.
are in the locker room.
Dude, Deuce is a star.
Exactly. And so that's kind of the that's the mentality that I want to bring. And my kids are really proud that I work at Make a Wish. When they see the Make a Wish logo, or even a blue star anywhere, or even the Subaru logo, because we have such a great partnership with Subaru, they immediately say, that's where Daddy works. I'm like, no, I don't work at Subaru, but um, I also would like to, this is not a question for you, but
Yeah.
log this one in case you
Yeah.
ever get a chance to have Joe Mazzulla on. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
his thoughts on imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind that. He would probably be very contentious.
Right.
based on the way he handles media questions. Um, and I wouldn't mind media training him. Just throw that out there. I'm a fan of the local dude from Rhode Island in his first head coaching role, but would appreciate him taking a more tactful approach to the media. Just doing their jobs. Just doing their jobs.
Hey, look, he's learned
Yeah.
from Bill Belichick, who's been pretty successful.
Right.
But
Right. But
the Celtics are like not only important to both you and I, obviously,
yeah.
but they're a huge also, to tie it back to Make a Wish, they're a huge part of what we do.
Yeah.
We had and we've been kind of me
Yeah, I
and
was
one of
gonna
the
ask you where they saw like where they fell in like rank order like partners locally because like I mentioned to you growing up like my I anytime I've been in the garden I feel like I oftentimes have had like a Make a Wish experience so it
yeah
just feels like very tight relationship.
yeah it's the Celtics, the Red Sox, the
Yeah,
Bruins. We have really strong relationships with the local sports teams. Dan Kraft was on our board for a really long time with the Patriots and Revolution, with the minor league teams even. We've had like amazing experiences. The Springfield Thunderbirds have Make a Wish night. The Providence Bruins had a Make a Wish night. The Worcester Red Sox not only had a Make a Wish night the past 3 years running, they also stepped up as like financial sponsors of our work, which just
nice.
says a lot. Um, the Celtics, though, really have a special place in what they do. Rich Gotham is the president of the team. Is he sits on our board right now, and it's just been such an inspiring leader for me. It's great when you have board members that are really invested in your work, but at the same time, um, just having them to bounce ideas off of, or to run things past, or make things work. That's just it's tremendous. And me and one of the wish coordinators, we've actually been kind of waiting. We're like, when are we gonna have a kid that wishes to meet the Celtics? Like, it's been a couple months. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
Like, is there anyone else?
yeah, we're ready to deliver.
Yeah, we just had yesterday. We had an inkling that there's going to be a kid that has a Tatum wish. At the same time, the Red Sox. I can't say enough. Amy Warius, who leads all of their HR function, is sits on our board, and the way that she delivers for Make a Wish every day is huge. And now she's gotten her daughter involved. Her daughter has started a wish club at her school, and so
Nice. That's
it's
awesome.
there's it's just it keeps
Well, you mentioned
going.
that earlier, the importance of like kids being inspired to like find ways that they can get involved and take action.
It is, and it's not for any reason like they're the future, big donors of that we're after. It's more like, hey, it really is about kids helping other kids, and
And helping kid, yeah, and it's just like overall like helping kids develop and like just be good citizens together.
right.
Like just do good things, acts of kindness.
Yeah, and I think in Boston in particular, the sports are so intertwined with our city and our culture, and same goes for Rhode Island, except for maybe the bottom half, which trends Yankee or something like that. But it's just amazing to see how the sports teams all have stepped up, especially for our 40th anniversary. We have really powerful displays of generosity with us, including the Revolution. This past training camp down in Florida, the Revolution hosted a Wish kid who wanted to improve as a goalie, and he got to go and be part of the team for training camp. Just
Nice.
phenomenal, amazing creative stuff that
And the
that gets
Revs
happen.
They have Matt Turner, right, who's on the US team?
Matt Turner left the
Yeah.
Revolution to go
Oh, he left.
to Arsenal in England,
Ah,
which is
ah,
my team, and
there you go.
so I have an Arsenal Matt Turner jersey because
There you
I'm
go.
I'm a huge Revs fan as well. I have Revs season tickets. I'm a
Oh, that's awesome.
proud season ticket holder
I
for them.
I was bummed because I coached my daughter in soccer, and Beverly Youth Soccer Association sent a thing out that like everyone like there's like a Beverly Youth Soccer Community Day. It's like June 11th or whatever that Saturday. It's the June 10th or 11th, and it's the same day as a wedding that my wife's that we're going to. So I'm like, oh, I got to go to a Revs another game. We should go to a Revs game together. I want to bring my daughter to a game.
Yeah, that would be great.
That'd be fun.
Make a Wish night at the Revs is going to be sometime in October.
Sweet,
Yeah, we'll
sweet.
get you out before then, though, in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like whenever I'll come in October too. But yeah, let's get out there sooner. Um, I want to double click on something you mentioned earlier. Just curious how you see it kind of evolving, changing. Like you mentioned when you were meeting with like the board for this role, like you didn't look the part of the normal sort of make a wish leader, I guess. Like I kind of want to unpack that a little bit. Like is that the color of your skin? Is that the fro? Like what do you think about sort of, is it appearance? Is it background? Like what do you think is in that statement? I want to unpack it. And do you see it changing? And if so, how? And like you also alluded to, like you've only worked in nonprofits, and you mentioned like by and large, like some of your imposter syndrome that you were riffing on, like it kind of like it comes from like it seems like you were indicating like you're around people that maybe whether they did or didn't look like you, they had a book that you didn't have. So I'm just curious, like because I also applaud like the Make a Wish board for like making sure that they are giving someone an opportunity that you, from experience in the industry, feel like historically hasn't to be in your role. And I think it's really, I think there's just that sort of like diversity, equity, inclusion kind of element to all of this. I think is valuable to unpack if that's sort of what you're scratching into there.
Yeah, I think that in my experience, what I've seen from the nonprofit world is that there can be a lot of diversity um, at the entry level, and then
Okay.
as it as you go up the ladder, it starts to drop off.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's something. I mean, that's been my experience, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's been the experience that I think a lot of people have. I don't want to speak for anyone, but so I think that when you see people that are doing the work, the program side, that's often where you find a lot of the diversity of experience, but also all the things that are wrapped up in the DEIB. They're more on the program side or the people that are closest to the work, not the ones that are maybe seen as pulling the strings and making the decisions. And so
Mm-hmm.
um, it's been I appreciate the leadership of our CEO Sean, who I've known for a really long time, in making sure that that was not going to be any kind of barrier or burden. And so um, we're really intentional about having a diverse team at Make a Wish that represents the community that we serve. Like I said before, there's no um, boundaries to the eligibility of the kids. They don't come from one zip code or anything like that. They can come from anywhere. And so it would be a, it would be a it wouldn't make sense for our entire staff team to look all one way. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were really intentional about making sure that we're diverse, and it's not about any kind of you know intentionally hiring or moving people around or anything like that. It's really about if you want things done differently, you have to do them differently. And
Mm-hmm.
so whether that's expanding the networks of where you're recruiting people,
Mm-hmm.
looking under in different places, you have to do it. You can't just like say that you're going to be intentional about addressing diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and then keep going back to the same um, things that you've always done. You're going to get the same results, and so you have to change it up. And so I think that you know, I might signify a little bit of that
Mm-hmm.
for Make a Wish, and I couldn't be more proud to be on this team and to step back and look at this team visually. You can see how really representative at this point. And then when
Hmm.
you unpack it and you see all the diversity of experience as well,
Hmm.
um, we have a really great group of people that's all showing up to work every day, committed to our kids, and is thinking of kids first.
Yeah.
And I think
And
that that's
divert.
that's a testament to the board as well, which
Right.
has really held itself accountable
Yeah.
to increasing their own diversity, increasing the industries that we're trying to tap into as well. So,
Yeah. I have conversations like this a lot with like people I work with and partners. Like we do a lot of like brand development and marketing, and generational diversity has
mm,
come up a lot. Like I bring that up a lot with people where because I'm a millennial, and so a bunch of my peers are millennials, and so it's like been like a important for me, like and actually really valuable, and we've had really interesting and dynamic sort of brands and go to markets sort of develop where I've collaborated with a 50-year-old analyst and like a 23, 24-year-old like Gen Z, writer from like inner city Chicago, and like the millennial crew, like, and we've had this really interesting not really like just learning process and like stretching process for each involved, and then sort of I feel like the result has been very unique when we like develop a visual identity or like come up with a narrative. It's got diverse input from like different generations, and those different generations maybe are from also different backgrounds. So I just feel like better things tend to happen, and certainly like in the creative world I'm in, I think it's increasingly apparent to me that you got to have a lot of different types of opinions and characters from different backgrounds, because it kind of keeps you fresh and on your toes, and
right.
and it kind of stokes your fire. It kind of it challenges you in all the good ways.
Yeah, and I think that you could see that. I have a pretty big team, and sometimes early on, everyone would be waiting to hear what I thought when we'd be
Hmm.
discussing something. And I would be like, I'm not gonna
I'm not going
dictate
first.
this. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna dictate this.
I
I'm
hear
not.
that. Yeah.
I wanna hear like other people's opinions. I want to be able to build on that. Or um, sometimes it's said in a joking way, but like in a brainstorm, there's no bad ideas. Sometimes that follows a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Hey, there's no bad ideas,
There's no bad ideas.
but
Yeah.
but it's I think everything people should feel comfortable to say and share and offer perspective, because all those perspectives going to come together. There shouldn't be any like I do not enjoy credit at all. What I
Mm,
really like is for the team to all feel ownership and to feel collective credit. And so
mm,
the only way to accomplish that is by having everyone feel like they had some input.
yeah. Yeah. Well said. You know, it's Mother's Day weekend, and I just want to give a shout out to your mom. What was her name?
Her name is Julie. My daughter's named for her.
And your daughter's name for her.
Yeah.
Uh, Julie's hella proud of you, as they'd say on the West Coast. Wicked proud, as we'd say in Boston. But it's Mother's Day weekend, so like not like do you find yourself like do you do anything special to honor your mom, Julie, like on Mother's Day? Like I mean, other than just honoring your you know being there for your wife and kids, but just any
Yeah.
love that you want to share in her direction?
Yeah, I will say to go a little bit deep.
Please do.
I would I lost my mom in April when I was 12 years old. So before Mother's Day, I remember that first Mother's Day. And I remember how people like walked around on eggshells with me. And it was like kind of a to hell with it situation. And so I didn't mess with Mother's Day for a long time. And I remember when my son was born, one of my first thoughts was, oh my gosh, like Mother's Day is like reborn.
Yeah.
Um, and
Hmm.
so Mother's Day for me was not only was it dormant, but it was like I was actively against Mother's Day in
Hmm.
my own mind.
You were
I was
not participating in
no,
Mother's Day.
actually I was I think a really good participant in reaching out to the mothers in my life.
Okay.
And but for me it was always done. I was still my in my own head. It was not a happy day.
It was not a happy day for you vis-a-vis your mother.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
I, but no, people would not have known that because I was very outwardly appreciative of the mothers that I knew in my life. But then when I became a father and my own wife, yeah, it's a whole new thing. So I don't want to. We
Yeah.
we also said that we weren't going to do any kind of like big Mother's Day or Father's Day gifts. What we do is combine
Yeah.
stuff. So this year we bought
Yeah.
ourselves a new wagon for the neighborhood,
Nice.
and that's our Mother's
Nice.
Day, Father's Day. I don't know if you watch the show Bluey. Um,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but
You kidding me? The
yeah,
Aussies have the best humor.
yeah. So I got a plush talking the mother and the father from Bluey, and I gave them to us, the parents, and the kids get to play with them, but they're our toys. So that was our big Mother and Father Day stuff for 2023. But yeah,
That's cool.
I think that it's not just Mother's Day, it's everything. Losing my mom made me kind of turn my back on a lot of that stuff. So I I grew up celebrating Christmas, but I never had a tree until now. Now
Hmm.
with my own kids, and so there's a lot of things that there's a lot of reasons why my children and my wife are the most important parts of everything that I do.
Do you feel like your children and your wife have brought you closer to your mom again? Because you've brought back some of that tradition, like a tree and the things that the last time you were really doing that, you were doing that with her.
100%,
Yeah.
100%,
It's
and
like it's that's beautiful. Like what a gift from your wife and kids. Like they're like there's like this closeness. Like it's almost like this reconciliation.
yeah, my wife is from Louisiana, and so um, she broke away from her immediate family to be in Boston here with me, and so the four of us have really we have a larger village, of course, which is why we need the wagon for the neighborhood. But we the four of us are really doing our own thing as a family, and we get down to Louisiana every year, usually around the beginning of Mardi Gras, to spend time
Nice.
with her family. But when we're here, we're a tight unit, and so it also helps that my daughter is literally the spitting image of me when I was her age. And so everyone looks at my son and is like, "Oh, I could see where," but it's like, no, it's my daughter. So
Wow.
looking at her and hearing her name, it means a lot to me, but it also means a lot to my cousins that loved my mom as their aunt, and my mom's siblings, and everyone that knew her. She had an impact on a lot of people's lives, and so I think that I appreciate you saying that she'd be proud of me. And I hear that from the people that knew her well as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Let's end things on a fun Celtics note.
Okay.
Predictions for game 7. And like do we need any more coaching changes? We got to double down on the double big lineup, but how we feeling? You're going to be at the Garden Sunday, right?
Yeah.
All right,
I'm.
how you feeling?
We have a wonderful group of people in Central Mass who put on a golf tournament every year for us, and it falls on Monday morning, and so they might catch me when I'm out there being a little bit hoarse. Um, I,
Well, Jalen Brown did challenge you.
he did. I take that personally from Jalen. The challenge to bring it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game that kind of resembles last night. I could
Hmm.
also see this being similar to, because the Sixers are a worthy opponent, being similar to the way things ended in 2008 with a blowout of the Lakers.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that either of those scenarios are very possible. If the Celtics bring it, um, this organization has assembled a really great, solid, deep team, and it would be really fun if we got to see some of the bench guys in the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
having some fun, and that would make for a really really nice loose garden if we get Geno time.
Geno time's always great, and it does seem like we were talking about this before, but it does seem like Blake Griffin would be a fun guy to hang out with.
It seems like Blake Griffin would be a great guy to
Yeah.
hang out with.
Yeah. When I went to the Boston College Clemson game this past fall, and Blake was just recently with the Celtics, and it was like him. He might Brogdon might have been there too, and a couple other guys, but like he was there like representing the Celtics. They did a little thing on the field, and like he just looks like he's having a blast in Boston.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
this is a good fit. I mean, he can pull off. He's always been able to pull off like a little bit of a comedic streak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would really like to hang out with him. I tried
Yeah.
to get one of his jerseys, but
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
tough to get these jerseys.
Tough, yeah.
Yeah.
Any of the Celtics that you have forged some relationships with, or any folks like Mike Gorman or any of the people around the organization?
Yeah. Well, before I had kids and when I was on the road a lot, I found myself with lots of opportunities to see the Celtics on the road. And
Oh, cool.
I remember it was right when we traded for Jeff Green. So
Okay.
I don't know,
When we got him
2011 or
back.
no, when we got him the first time.
Oh, the first time. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, did he ever come back? Okay.
we were in Milwaukee, and that was the first time that I really met Mike Gorman. And
Nice.
ever
Talk
since
about
then,
someone to hang with.
he's
Okay,
from
sorry.
Dorchester.
Keep.
He's
Yeah.
from Dorchester
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So every time I see him, Mr. Gorman, and come
Yeah.
over and catch up. He's just a awesome person. Um, Max hung out with him in San Antonio. Grandy, when we did the Celtics Make a Wish night at the Celtics back in November, I got the chance to sit with Grandy for an interview, which was like a thrill. And I used
Oh,
Max's
cool.
headset,
Nice.
which was kind of
No, that's
surreal.
cool. You were the color guy.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But yeah, this group of players is really something special. The guy that I'd like to meet, which my wish would be Jaylen Brown, and
Yeah.
it'd be to tell him what he means to this city, to this community, and I'm hoping to I would love to just shake his hand and appreciate him.
Hell yeah. I almost want to clip that up and make sure he sees it because sometimes like it seems like I don't know if he's gaslighting us or what. Like I'm not sure how he feels about Boston, because sometimes maybe I don't know if he's judging Boston fans by maybe the the fringe or like the worst of us, like if we're, acting a fool a bit, but I think Jaylen Brown his impact on the world will be greater than what he does on a basketball court. And I think the way that he inspires young people and takes time out to like be politically he's active and visit the White House when he gets chances, and like it just seems like um he cares a lot about things outside of basketball that matter to our the community, and I think it's a good thing for Boston to have like a star like that here. So
Yeah, even his
yeah.
like it's pretty telling his choice of footwear in the Atlanta series where he had the custom Bill Russell.
Yeah.
That picture of him and Bill Russell that he painted on his shoes was my header on Twitter for a long time because just
Nice.
really Bill Russell means a lot to me and somebody I had a chance
Yeah.
to meet quite a few
Yeah.
times. And him and Jalen, I can see that something really
Yeah.
getting past
That's
between
cool.
them.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm rooting for the Celtics to win, obviously. I have no idea what team we're going to see. I think you nailed it. Most likely, it's going to be a close game, and we're all going to be just like tense and loud. Um, but based on the way this Celtics team has played, like I could see a lopsided game either way, just like it kept happening in the finals
Right.
last year. But I do think that's less likely, based on the fact that we're coming back home and we've already had one of those games.
Yeah.
We got that out of our system a couple games ago. Tatum showed up in the fourth, but wasn't great. Like, I feel like the Celtics are due for like a really good game, and I think the Sixers have had a couple really good games, and so I think there's a hopefully a better chance that the Celtics are like gonna show up with like the because just the better version of the Celtics than we've seen is better than most anyone in the league.
Well, if you,
So
I mean, Derek White, all defensive team, Brogdon, six man of the year, Smart, Hustle Award, Tatum and Brown, first and second team All NBA.
and they got defense votes too. Brown, I think they both did.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
we're on paper and on the court when we're the better, we're the best team in the NBA. And so
yeah,
it just got to put it all together. And what do we need? Four, eight, nine more wins.
yeah.
Let's.
Nine more
I
wins,
want.
baby.
I
That's the
want.
magic number.
Yeah, I want a duck boat ride.
Yeah, let's go. I want to wave to you on the duck boat.
Yeah.
Get your butt on there. So that could be maybe you can get on there, wheels away on there, and hang out with Jalen.
Yeah, with Jalen, right?
Let's make George's wish come true.
We didn't
George,
get
this
to
has been a
talk about
blast.
we didn't get to talk about my dream job, but
What? Oh
I,
yeah, talk about it, yeah.
not I'm totally happy at Make a Wish, but if I could be the 15th man on the Celtics,
Yeah,
that might be it.
yeah. And we're not talking about a 1 day contract,
No,
folks.
no,
No, no, we're talking about the victory cigar. And we
yeah,
actually George and I talked pre-episode like it like the shirt would be like the George Deveney shirt would be like you'd see his face with like his fro and the words would just be human victory cigar.
that's right. You
And
know when
that'd
I'm
be
out
it. Like
there,
yeah, like when you're out there, you know it's time, it's Gino time, it's time to celebrate.
yeah, and Udonis Haslam is covering me.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The 15th guy and the other team's out
Yeah,
there too, and y'all are getting after it. And some overexcited like long shots, but
yeah, yeah,
shoot it straight on because like the bank's gonna be open.
right. Some YMCA type
Yeah, there you go.
hoops.
George, this has been a pleasure, man. I'm stoked that we got to sort of forge this relationship and what is now like I truly, sincerely would call like a new friendship. I know we got some mutual. It sounds like we have some sort of excuses to maybe get together in Beverly or Dorchester. So we'll have to make that happen.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, we're just really proud of 40 years of Make a Wish here in Mass and Rhode Island, and we're gonna celebrate through December. And so, Zach, it'd be great to get you more involved. Just let us know how you want
Yeah,
to, and we'll be ready.
awesome. I'm stoked for it. Count me in.
Awesome. Thanks for
Awesome,
having
dude.
me
All
on.
right. Thanks for being here and go enjoy some time with your kiddos today and all weekend. It's gonna be beautiful.
I can't wait.
All right, awesome. Take care. Cheers, Boston.